Hey, good morning, guys. My name is Eric Hodges, and I am your instructor for this course. I am a PhD student in Public and International Affairs, and I have a master's degree from Virginia Tech in the philosophy department, and I also have a bachelor's degree in philosophy as well. So I've been studying philosophy for, I don't know, the past 6 or 7 years anyway. Um, I'm from Virginia. I grew up in a small town just south of Blacksburg called Horse Pasture, which is right on the North Carolina border. A little bit else about me. Before I came back to graduate school, I was in the Marine Corps for 4 years. So I had the opportunity to travel quite a bit, which is appropriate for this course. So we're going to be talking about global ethics. In my spare time, I don't have much spare time because I'm a graduate student, but when I do have spare time, I usually spend it outdoors, hiking, biking, camping, those kinds of things. And I apologize if it looks like I'm in a kindergarten class, because I am in a kindergarten class, and I'm actually in a kindergarten class in Croatia. That's something else. For the first 2 weeks of this course, I'm going to be in Switzerland doing research. This week I'm on vacation in Croatia visiting a friend of mine who happens to run a kindergarten or a school in Croatia. So that's a little bit about me. Let's talk a little bit about the subject. Obviously, the subject of this course is global ethics, and it's an ethics course, and it's talking about ethics from a philosophical perspective. So when we talk about ethics, we're not talking necessarily about religion or history or anything like that, but we're going to be coming from this topic from a philosophical standpoint, which means that we're going to be looking at arguments for ethics, and it's going to be a systematic study of the principle of ethics. And that's what I'm ultimately hoping that you guys can get out of this course. It's not just the subject material that I'm interested in, but rather it's the method of doing philosophy. So, because this is an intro philosophy course, we're going to spend the first couple of weeks actually just introducing basic parts of philosophy, basic skills that you're going to need to do philosophy. And then in the third week of the course, we're actually going to get more deeply into the subject. The first week is going to be, because this is an online course, I want us to introduce ourselves to each other so we know a little bit about who we're talking to. So I want you guys to essentially post an intro, and you can do it either as a YouTube video and post it to our website, which I'll talk about a bit later, or you can actually do a write-up. But if you do a write-up, just make sure to post a picture so we all know who we're talking to. And then after the intros in the first week, we're going to do a little bit of a brief introduction to ethics and philosophy. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to watch Michael Sandel, who is probably the most famous political philosopher right now and ethical philosopher. And he delivers one of the most popular courses at Harvard, which is called Justice. We're going to watch his introduction lecture to ethics, where he discusses the two most prominent ethical theories in Western philosophy, which are consequentialism and categorical ethics, or sometimes known as deontological ethics. So that'll be our opening, and then on the day after that, I'm going to ask you guys to discuss it, which we're going to be doing a lot in this class, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when I get down to the assignments. After our brief intro period where we get to know each other and we know a little bit about ethics, the next week of the course is going to be devoted to studying how to read philosophy, because philosophy is a very distinct type of reading than probably what you're used to, and how to write philosophy, which essentially comes down to how to make a good argument. The week after that, we'll get into the actual global part of the course. The first thing that we're going to look at is universalism, which, the main question that we're looking for in this course is, are there global moral principles that apply to every human being on the planet, or is morality just culturally relative and we can't really say anything is right or wrong to other cultures. So that's the question that we're going to be concerned with. And as you'll see, there are no easy answers to this question. I've been thinking about it a long time, and I still don't have all the answers. But if you guys at least understand the questions, that'll be a success, in my opinion. So the first week of actually getting into the topic, which would be the third week of the course, we're going to talk about universalism, which is the idea that there are global moral principles that apply to everybody. There have been several ways that people have tried to justify that in the past, whether it's usually you think about through religion, Christianity or Islam. But from a philosophical standpoint, the most famous defender of this position is Immanuel Kant. And he believed that there are universal moral principles for human beings, and those are derived through human beings' rationality. So one of the first readings we're going to do is an excerpt from his famous work, The Groundwork for the Metaphysics of Morals, where he discusses his categorical imperative, which is one of the most famous ethical principles. Then after that, we're going to look at probably the most famous political philosopher of the 20th century, John Rawls. He wrote a very famous philosophical text called A Theory of Justice, but we're going to look at something called the Law of the Peoples, and that's where he talks about ethics applying across the board. Then we're going to turn the next week to the opposing view to universalism, which is moral relativism. And it's essentially what it implies is that morality, there is no universal moral principles, or there are no universal moral principles, and morality is simply a system of behavior between people, and that behavior is dictated by cultural practices. For instance, a famous argument, or one of the famous examples of moral relativism, is an argument that goes like, the Greeks believe it's wrong to eat your dead. The Colossians believe that it's okay to eat your dead. So since there are those two opposing views, obviously there must be no objective reason or ethical principle that says it's wrong to eat your dead, because those conflict. And we'll talk a little bit about whether that's actually a good argument or not. The hint, it's not. And then the next week of the course, I'm actually going to open it up a little bit, because we do have a short amount of time in this course. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to cover as much ground as I would like. But the last week of the course, or the last week before the final paper is due, you guys are actually going to get to choose between 4 subtopics within global ethics that you're interested in discussing. The 4 topics are environmental ethics, human rights, just war theory, and the last one will be the justification for humanitarian intervention. And what I will do is I will post 2 readings, each of those in Scholar or on our website, and you can choose one of those topics, and you'll go through those readings, and then I'll put you guys in groups depending on who signs up for what topic, and you guys can have discussions among yourselves. And I'll check in on those discussions as well as we go along. And then the last week, you guys are going to be working on your final paper. So I've talked about the website a bit. Now I want to talk about it a little bit more in detail. As this is an online course, we've got several options. But what I decided to do was to create a website, which is essentially a WordPress blog, which works really well for this course, because this course is primarily a discussion course. So you guys are going to be reading and discussing ideas, and I personally like using my own site better than I like using just Scholar, because it gives me more options. Plus, Scholar is not always the most reliable. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using our website, which is vtglobalethics.wordpress.com, and you can find the link to that on the website. And essentially the way it's going to work is each week, at the beginning of the week,